seen one wake over to it. Oh! Ain't that big, but finally got one to eat this old trash bandit. Oh. Whew. That was a long time coming. Nice little healthy fish. When I'm picking these pockets apart, you know, I try to just do a couple little pops and let the rings go away from it. You know, let it soak in there. You know, they might not want it right now, but when it's just in their face, you know, moving around and they just can't take it no more and they gotta try it at least once. Come here, little booger. He was sitting right there by a little isolated clump. Finally got a little booger to bite. I was picking them little isolated clumps apart and then just letting it soak around them. Pop a couple pops and let it sit for a while. And then finally just came up there and scooped it. I think what really got this fish was, you know, having them little tinsels on the legs on that frog and letting it just fan out on the top of the water. And then letting it just dance, pretty much. Antagonize them to bite. So when I throw in these pockets, you know, I try to, you know, make my pops subtle and stuff, and you just keep your eye, you know, not just on your bait, around your bait, see if there's any other movement. It could be movement 4 foot away and you know, oh man, that could be possibly something coming to it, or you spooked it. Either way, you gotta, you know, take the chances and just, you know, pop it soft, you know, work it. And then most of the time it is a bass and he's gonna come over and just investigate it and, you know, try it once or twice. You know, with a little slight breeze. I don't like it too windy. You can get it done when it's windy, but it's just tough to do that. It's hard for the fish to locate it. But when it's super calm, you can still catch them, but I like a slight ripple to break things up. But anywhere from, you know, 68 to, you know, higher temps, I normally try to bust out the frog. I've caught them in colder, but it seems like you could probably do a lot better with something else. You know, that's something slower and under the surface when it's that cold, you know, 60, low 60s and stuff. You can do better with like a worm or a swim bait or something like that, but you know, when it's above, you know, higher 60s and up, they seem to want this frog a lot more down here. I'll go with a fast pop, 3 pop stop is my main deal, but if they're, you know, if I could tell that they're just looking at it and not wanting to commit directly to it, you know, I'll try to pinpoint something where I think a bass would be sitting and just work it, you know, just try to talk them into it. You just pop, stop, let the ripples get away, and then pop once, let the ripples go away, pop 2 times. Just let it, you know, soak. Try to work that spot, just antagonize them to bite. You can cover a lot of water by just doing the whole 3 pop stop. With this particular frog right here, we have these tinsels in here, which help. And they're pretty buoyant, so they float and then they move with the rubber bands and they spread out and they shimmer. You know, if we got good sunlight, that really pops, you know. And with all that going on and it fanning out and that shining and it's steadily moving, you know, a lot of them fish can't take it and they have to do something with it. You know, if you throw a regular frog and with just rubber bands, no tinsels, and you just get a lot of swirls underneath it, they're not committing, I normally go to something like this with some tinsels in it, and a lot of times that'll get them to key in on that bite. You know, I prefer the popping frog over the pointed nose because I don't really want to walk it, and like I try to, you know, stay in their strike zone a lot more. It seems like it doesn't travel as much as a pointy nose frog. You know, you can just keep it in their strike zone a lot longer, and you know that a lot of, you know, if they're on a chugging bite, you know, more of aggressive, you know, presentation. Pads, I will throw, you know, a pointy nose, because these things are kind of hard to get through the pads, and the pads will keep them, that bait right there in that zone, and it won't drift off. You know, it's keeping it locked in. And that's why I can get away with using a pointed frog in the pads. There she is. Nice fish. I mean, that's a good one right there, boys. That's a nice fish. Oh, yeah, she came off that little isolated clump. Well, we're gonna flip her in. That's a nice fish right there. Healthy. Spawner. Yeah, right in the corner, just like you want it. You know, I had a fish like roll on it a couple times and she finally committed, but honestly, I think it had something to do with them little tassels just fanning out in front of her. And I popped it a couple times, it fanned out, she just took it. I try to more of like a chug instead of trying to dog walk it. You know, kind of like the same way I work a devil's horse or a top water with a bladed top. So I try to use like a bounce back little stroke, like snap it and bounce my rod back to it. So it does more of a chug instead of like walking back and forth, and try to keep it in their strike zone longer. So since this water is pretty dark, I try to stay with a darker belly. You know, I try to pay attention to the bellies on the frogs. You know, it's got a little bit of blue, but mostly it's just a dark image. And it seems like in the cleaner water situations, I could try to go with like a frog pattern or, you know, a shad or bluegill. But when the water's this dark, you know, it's better to go with the darker the better on your frog.